welcome to another week with Dr. Johnson, Conversations with Dr. Johnson. So please join us as we take our celebrated medical director, Dr. Daniel Johnson, through another week of challenging questions from the man who came from heaven. Charles, welcome, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
I know you enjoy these sessions.
Yes.
Because you never know where I'm going to go.
Yes, unpredictability is a strong point with you.
And you too. You enjoy it. I didn't want you to be like, oh, bored, I did that already. So today we're going to talk about one of the most important organs in the body. It's almost a system. That's the gut. We're going to talk about gut health. So is it an organ or a system?
Well, it's both. It's a system of organs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so talk to us, what organs constitute what we call gut? Because when people say gut, they think of their belly, right?
Well, it starts with our mouth and our teeth.
Yeah.
It progresses to our throat, then into our esophagus, then into our stomach, then into the duodenum, jejunum, and ileum, which are the three parts of the small intestine, and then to the colon, and finally out the anus. So the whole thing is our GI tract.
The anus, that's where we do the number 2.
That's the spot. Yes.
Yeah, and that's where we enjoy it as we push that out.
Well, if you do, okay.
So Doc, what causes the whole pressure for everything to flow? Is there like some mechanism that pushes everything slowly down until it exits?
Yes.
What is that?
The mechanism is called peristalsis. It's a wave of muscular contraction.
Wow, peristalsis, guys.
It happens in our esophagus, in our stomach to a certain extent.
And it's like a gentle wave-like muscular push.
Yeah, if you're having cramps, that's because those waves of peristalsis have gotten too vigorous.
Ah, that's what leads to cramps.
Yes.
And they're trying to push, but then they became too vigorous.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to talk about gut health, right? Yes. So one of the things that we know is that gut health is really a critical component of chronic illness.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Now, I want everybody to understand there's an old saying that says you are what you eat.
Yes.
That is not a true statement. To turn that into a true statement, we need to say you are what you eat, provided that you are digesting and absorbing your food correctly.
Wow.
So in other words, it's possible to eat a perfect diet and still have lots of deficiencies if you're not digesting and absorbing.
Yes, in nutrients.
Yes.
Okay, let's start with the gut. You started in the mouth. What are the big problems with the mouth in terms of its contribution to gut health?
Well, the big problem is people don't chew enough.
Okay.
We should, I don't know, when I was a kid, we were told you should chew every bite of food 40 times.
Wow, that's like a meditation.
It's like a meditation, yes it is.
And by the time you finish chewing, there is nothing, you don't need to take a second spoon.
Well, yes, by the time you're finished chewing a bite, it should just be mush.
Wow. So how many times do you chew now, Doc?
Well,
since you were a stubborn kid and they made you chew 40, now you chew like 5 times?
Well, I don't count. I just chew every bite until it's mush.
Wow.
And people commonly comment, boy, you sure eat slow, don't you?
And that is what happens. Because I eat fast, I need to slow down. So at least until everything is mush, you do not swallow.
You shouldn't.
Actually, a good thing around that is that it also reduces the amount you eat.
Yes.
If you chew that much.
Yes, yes.
Go ahead.
Now, one of the problems with the modern American diet is people eat processed foods. The main thing in our food that forces us to chew and chew and chew is the presence of fiber.
Yeah.
Okay? And Americans are in a hurry, they're lazy, they want fast food. How do you make food fast? Mostly by removing the fiber.
Okay.
And so, and a low fiber diet is never a healthy diet.
Correct.
We should all have more and more fiber in our diet, which leads to more chewing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the mouth, we have a lot of enzymes, right, that are helping with that mastication, the breakdown of the food,
Yes,
right?
yes.
What contribution does dental hygiene have to that overall process in the mouth?
Well, if you've got several molars missing,
Yeah.
we bite and tear off our food with our front teeth, but we chew with our back teeth, our
Yes.
molars. And if you've got molars that are missing, and I
Yes.
see this all the time in patients,
Yes.
then you can't chew efficiently.
Okay. Interesting. So now the food is being chewed, masticated
Yes.
until it's all liquid. So why don't we just drink from a feeding bottle?
Well, because the act of chewing is healthy for us.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I thought it was work.
Well, it's healthy work.
Okay.
It's healthy work.
So that's why we should not just suck a feeding bottle and like on Wally, just go to sleep, suck a bottle and not chew. Too much work.
We should not do that. I'm not saying that nobody can ever have a protein shake or a fruit smoothie. Those can be very useful,
Yeah.
but it shouldn't be our entire diet.
All right. So now we've gone, and now the food now begins to descend into the esophagus,
Yes.
down into the stomach. So what are the things that we need to do to make sure that that whole digestion and absorption that you spoke about is effective?
Well,
First of all, the digestion,
yeah,
then the absorption.
yeah. The chewing that we talked about is certainly the most important first step. Once things get into your stomach, then you need to have digestive enzymes
Yes,
to digest your food.
enzymes, yes.
Now, the digestive enzymes come from our pancreas. For most of us, as we age, our pancreas becomes less and less efficient at creating these digestive enzymes.
And we have three of them, right? For fats, for proteins, and for carbohydrates.
Well, the three major categories, then there are subsets within
Subsets of that.
each
And so
one of them.
I take Digestime with every
Yes.
meal.
Yes.
And I also take Spectrozyme, which is the gluten digestive
Yes.
to address any underlying issues. So talk to us, because as we are going to progress, what is the gluten issue that causes so much
Okay.
concern and havoc?
Okay. So first of all, if you're gluten allergic or gluten sensitive, that's going to be very irritating to your GI tract.
Yes.
And in fact, whenever we test the stress glands, the adrenals, part of that testing is always to test for a gluten allergy, because if you have a gluten allergy which has not been diagnosed, that puts huge additional stress on our system, and our adrenals react badly to that.
Wow.
The other issue with gluten is that even if you're not allergic to it, quote unquote, gluten is somewhat of a toxin to the cells of our digestive tract and to all the mitochondria in the human body.
Yeah.
Gluten makes our mitochondria function less efficiently.
Wow.
Okay.
That's interesting, because I know some top tennis players don't eat gluten at all, and they said it actually improved their performance.
I'm sure that's true.
Wonderful.
I'm sure that's true.
So, what are some of the dysfunctions that then arise in the stomach and that would affect digestion? For example, I know there are lots of people who have like bloating or gas
Yes.
or cramps, as you did talk
Yeah.
about.
Well, in the stomach itself, the lack of digestive enzymes
Yes.
and or the lack of adequate stomach acid.
Okay.
Those are the two big problems.
And so, wow, do people run out of stomach acid?
A lot do,
And
yes.
how would you supplement that to support that?
Well, I believe you've got some betaine there.
Yes, we have some betaine. Where did I keep it? I think I moved it back because I thought we may have some in here. Oh, I forgot where I put it. Can you bring the betaine back up?
Yeah. Yeah, that increases the level of stomach acid.
All right.
And interestingly enough, a lot of people that have heartburn
Yes,
and think they need an antacid, they actually just need more acid.
and that's the betaine, right?
Yes.
It's a hydrochloride
Yes.
plus pepsin.
Yes,
And pepsin is the enzyme for proteins.
correct.
All right, for breaking down of proteins.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't go to medical school, but
Well,
I'm coping with the dark.
but you act like you did.
Thank you, Doc. So, okay, let's move forward. So you were talking about the acids and the enzymes, right? So, but there is this, now as we move into the trio in the small intestines,
Yes.
the duodenum, the duodenum, and
Jejunum
jejunum,
and ileum.
the ileum. Those are the three parts of the very complicated twisting. Did
Yes.
God make that so that to slow down the travel of the food?
Probably.
You know, in motor racing, in sports, we call that chicane.
Yes, yes.
Oh, you know that? Oh, you're
sure.
a motorsport guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I thought those were chicanes that God created for cornering.
Yeah, there's no chicanes at the drag races.
Okay, exactly. It's all down,
Yeah.
down straight.
Yeah.
So why are they called these different names, and what is their use?
The three parts of the small intestine?
Yes.
Well, whoever was doing those original dissections hundreds of years ago,
Yeah.
they saw that visually they could identify three different sections, and
Yeah.
why they came up with these particular complicated names, who knows?
Yeah.
It all comes from the original Latin, but
Yeah. And what's their purpose? What happens? Why do we have small and large intestines?
okay. So the small intestine is mostly for the second stage of digestion of the food. The first stage starts in the stomach, and then the second stage is in the small intestine.
For the fats breakdown
Yes.
and the carbohydrate
Yeah,
breakdown.
and nutrients are absorbed into the bloodstream.
Okay.
Now, by the time your food is finished with the small intestine, it's like a liquid slurry.
Yeah.
And if that...
But that's strange. What happens then when it's coming out, it's all hardened up? Do we have a compactor that compacts the liquid sludge into some?
Yes, it's called the colon, the large intestine.
That's when the compaction happens. Vincent has a lot of compaction.
So, congratulations.
Thank you.
So, the main job of the large intestine is to absorb fluid out of that liquid
Okay.
and turn it into solid that will make for a more pleasant bowel movement.
All right. So before we go deep into that, there's this big conversation about probiotics and the microbiome.
Okay.
So give us, what is a healthy microbiome and how does it contribute to the digestion and absorption issue you've been talking about?
Okay, the microbiome refers to all of the bacteria that we have in our intestines.
Yes.
All of us have a mixture of good bacteria and bad bacteria.
Yes.
Okay? And it is estimated that most people have probably somewhere in the ballpark of 100 trillion individual bacteria in our intestine.
100 trillion.
Yes.
That feels like an army from Russia or China. You mean the whole China in my stomach?
Yes, the Chinese collusion.
Yeah, I know. Right? But imagine that Karen, Vincent, Catherine, we almost have here 3 trillion armies. We could win a war.
Well, if they were soldiers,
Yes.
and in a sense they are. Now, nobody has 100% good bacteria and 0% bad bacteria.
Yeah.
They exist in a balance, or at least they're supposed to.
Yes.
And when they exist in a proper balance, then that supports our good health.
Yes.
But when we have excessive bad bacteria, they overpower the good bacteria, and they do lots of things bad to our health. They promote inflammation.
Yes.
Almost every medical problem that people have has some inflammation component,
Okay.
and
It's connected to that.
and it's definitely connected to our gut.
Yes.
The microbiome plays a role in directing. We have actually neurons in our GI tract.
Tract.
So the gut is a second brain.
Correct.
Neurons are brain cells, okay?
Yeah.
But the gut is a second brain, and some scientists are now claiming that our brain gut is more important than our brain up here.
I thought that was an American issue.
Well,
Having a bigger stomach brain than a head brain. Yeah, but you are just confirming that. So
Yeah.
I don't want to go into the complications of what happens with gut health. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow and Thursday. But I wanted to look at some of the supplementation. So what happens with that diversity and the imbalance with gut bacteria? is it something that you inherit from birth, or is this something that also comes with age, or is it both?
Well, you inherit it from birth if you are born vaginally.
Oh,
If-
when you're born vaginally, you
Yes.
get a good diversity.
Yes, yes.
All right.
Because
How else are you born? I was born vaginally. I didn't know there was another way.
C-section.
Oh, and my children too were all born vaginally. Oh, C-section.
Yes.
And that's where we induce labor and bring the kid out on the side.
and open up the abdomen and the uterus and take the baby out through the abdomen.
In the old days, that what didn't happen.
You're right, that didn't happen. And as a result of that technology not being available, a lot of babies and mothers died.
Oh, during childbirth.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
And there were other reasons too,
Yeah.
infections
Yeah,
that happened
infections,
after
yeah.
childbirth.
All right, so we talked about that. So if you normally want to take some probiotics
Yes.
to help with that. And the probiotics that we take is good bacteria.
Yes,
Because typically the bad bacteria overwhelms the good bacteria.
exactly.
And what's the relationship with fiber and this microbiome?
Okay, so all organisms have to eat. Bacteria have to eat.
Yes.
The main food for bacteria is the fiber in our diet.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so if you're not eating enough fiber, you will tend to not have a healthy microbiome.
Okay, wonderful. So, okay, so we're moving towards the stool now.
Yes.
So typically, people either have constipation or diarrhea.
Yes.
Why are we always fluctuating through those? Well, you have a normal stool that is like a number 3 or number 4 on the Bristol stool, or you have constipation,
Yes.
or you have diarrhea.
Yeah.
So is diarrhea because the large intestine didn't compact it and remove the liquid very well?
Well, basically. But look, if you have constipation, in a huge percentage of cases, it's because of an undiagnosed low thyroid condition. Okay?
Wow.
It can also be caused by a magnesium deficiency.
Yes.
And when we have loose bowels, it's usually because we've made a sudden drastic change to our diet. Okay? If you are not eating enough fiber and all of a sudden you start eating tons of fiber, you're probably going to have loose bowels for a week or so because your intestines need some time to adjust gradually to that.
To this new fiber addition.
Yeah, it's
And they're overwhelmed. They're like, now comes food.
yeah, it's similar to, let's say that I've never been to the gym and I start
Exercising.
I start showing up and I say, okay, I'm going to bench press 200 pounds. Well, if I try that on day one, I'm probably going to drop the bar and break my neck.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
you have to ease into the
the
exercise
process,
gently and gradually, and you have to ease into the higher fiber diet gently and
Yeah.
gradually.
So what about gut repair? You know, there's this product we call Gluteus Shield, and we have this other one called Ultra GI Replenish,
Yes.
which is for the support of the management of compromised function with digestive disorders, including malabsorption.
Yes.
Why is absorption such a big problem?
Well, look, if you cannot absorb the nutrients that you're digesting, then you're going to have all sorts of nutritional deficiencies.
Yes.
The other problem with absorption is in your intestines, the individual cells are tight. And we literally call this, the medical term for this is a tight junction.
Yes.
Okay? And if those junctions don't stay tight, if they kind of open up and loosen up, you will have what we call leaky gut syndrome.
Yes.
And with leaky gut syndrome, incompletely digested proteins tend to get through slip through and
including
get
bacteria, microbes, and
yes,
other things.
yeah, and it gets into your bloodstream, and that triggers allergic reactions, that triggers infections.
Wonderful. So
Okay.
the Gluteus Shield, what are solutions to fixing that tight junction?
Well, Gluteus Shield has all the ingredients in it that will help to fix that.
Yeah.
And then frequency-specific microcurrent, FSM, is another major important piece of
yes.
that puzzle.
Yes.
And the Ultra GI Replenish is another piece of that puzzle.
Yeah, so we also have from Dr. Gondry,
Yes.
the lectin shield
Yes.
and the total restore, which are all powerful things for helping restore the gut lining.
Yes.
There are, in the next couple of days, we're going to talk about some of the issues that arise
Okay.
when we do not have good gut health. And today, I just want to close by addressing the first set of, which are the problems to do with the gut also. And things are like IBD, IBS, and Crohn's disease, which also leads to, later on, colorectal cancer.
Yes.
So can you talk about all these gut issues and how do they manifest and how would we manage them?
Well, IBD, which is irritable bowel syndrome,
Yeah.
Crohn's disease, colitis, these things will tend in most people to cause alternating constipation and loose bowels. It can cause mucus in the bowels. It can cause blood in the bowel movement.
stool, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And so, and they're very disruptive to a patient's life because at any minute without warning,
It could
they
come.
might have to have a bowel movement. And so they always have to know where the nearest bathroom is. And so it's very distressing and very disrupting to one's
And
life.
also, it causes a lot of pain for a
Yes.
lot of those patients.
Yes, yes.
And so, what should we be doing? What kind of tests should we do to diagnose, or how do we prevent and treat those ailments?
Well, there are blood tests and stool tests that can give us the information we need there.
Yes.
The
In terms of the extension,
Yes.
I mean, how extensive the damage is.
the GlutatShield and the frequency-specific microcurrent, in
Prevention.
my experience, are very healing. And
Okay.
I've seen many cases of Crohn's and IBS and irritable bowel. I've seen many cases resolve pretty much completely
Wow.
with this
How many
approach.
treatments would you recommend with FSM, and how many months on GlutatShield would be able to resolve those issues?
1 month on GlutatShield and 1 month of twice weekly FSM treatments will do wonders for most people.
Wow.
And if they're not getting the full results, then we're going to continue that treatment for another month.
Wonderful.
Okay?
So another day with Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
another day with conversations with Dr. Johnson. And as I said, this week we'll be talking about gut health. Today we introduced the overall idea. Tomorrow we'll be looking at how your gut health affects your immune system and your cardiometabolic. And then on Thursday we'll be talking about how your gut health affects your brain health.
Okay?
Right?
Very good.
Today you explored the issue of leaky gut. We're going to go deep into that.
Okay.
Any last comments or advice to our adoring audience?
Yes, as Grandma always said, eat your vegetables.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Johnson,
pleasure.
for another day conversations with Dr. Thank you for joining. Like us, love us, share us, and make sure you come back. We love you. Thank you and take care. Have a good day. Thank you, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you.